What unfolds when a CEO takes on the guise of a night shift worker at his own hotel, only to be halted in his tracks by a housekeeper's heartfelt struggle? Michael Carter, the head of an expanding hotel chain, sat in his office, gazing at the most recent batch of employee grievances. The reports revealed concerning issues: diminished morale, exhausted staff, and murmurs of management taking shortcuts. He had crafted this company from its very inception, yet with more than a dozen locations now, he found himself disconnected from the realities of the ground level. He was not receiving the complete narrative from his regional managers. He had to uncover the reality on his own. Thus, Michael reached a conclusion. He decided to go incognito at one of his hotels, taking on the night shift as a novice housekeeper. He selected a spot in a moderately sized city, ensuring anonymity, as he had never encountered the staff in person. With his typically polished appearance replaced by a scruffy beard, glasses, and a plain uniform, he blended in as just another newcomer. Upon his arrival for the shift, the night manager, Scott, hardly acknowledged him with even a fleeting glance. "So, we have a newcomer, do we? Your task is to manage the housekeeping duties. Join Maria on her journey. She will guide you through the steps." Maria, a middle-aged housekeeper with weary eyes and a gentle smile, acknowledged him with a nod. "Let's go, newcomer. I trust you're okay with getting your hands a little messy." Michael took hold of a cart and trailed behind her through the shadowy corridor. The hotel exuded a serene stillness, the lobby devoid of life save for the front desk clerk absorbed in his phone. Upon stepping into the initial chamber, Maria presented him with a pair of gloves. "Remove the linens, clean all surfaces, and look for any litter. Make sure to thoroughly inspect beneath the beds. Individuals abandon a variety of items." Michael collaborated with her, striving to match her pace. She glided through the motions, her hands deft and skilled. In just a few moments, she had removed the bedding, cleaned the surfaces, and swapped out the towels. He, in contrast, was still struggling with the fitted sheet. Maria let out a soft laugh. "Your speed will improve. Requires dedication." As the evening unfolded, they meticulously tidied one room after another. Michael felt a deep ache in his back, and his arms throbbed from the relentless scrubbing. He had never understood the true physical toll this job could take. In a brief pause within the supply room, Maria rested against the wall, gently massaging her temples. "Are you all right?" Michael inquired, observing her flinch. Maria let out a breath. "Indeed, just a headache. It has certainly been an extended week." Michael paused for a moment, then inquired, "Do you always work nights?" She gave a slight nod. "Indeed, working the night shift offers a slightly higher pay rate. I must accept whatever comes my way." There was an intriguing quality in her voice that compelled him to delve deeper. "I've been here for quite a while. 7 years," she remarked, arching her back. "I've encountered 3 managers, and each one has been more disappointing than the previous." Michael scowled. "That's unfortunate," Maria sighed. "Scott, our current manager, reduces hours unexpectedly and has us clock out before we finish to minimize labor expenses. When we voice our concerns, he warns us of potential replacements." Michael's jaw clenched tightly. He implemented measures to ensure that such treatment would not occur. Were they being overlooked by upper management? "Why not bring it to light?" he inquired with caution. Maria released a harsh chuckle. "To whom?" "The headquarters. They seem indifferent. To them, we are merely statistics." Michael felt a knot in his stomach. She let out another sigh. "I lack the time for conflict. I have 2 children at home. Last year, my husband left this world, and now I find myself alone. This job is essential to me, and I cannot risk losing it." Michael stood still. He had anticipated uncovering some inefficiencies, perhaps a handful of ineffective managers, but this was beyond anything he imagined. An industrious individual facing exploitation, hesitant to voice their concerns. He experienced a wave of nausea. Maria cast a fleeting look at the clock. Time to get back to work. With a determined shove, she propelled herself away from the wall and seized her cart. "Let's go, newcomer. There are still rooms that need attention." Michael trailed behind, his thoughts swirling in a chaotic dance. This went beyond mere mismanagement. This concerned the essence of people's lives, and he was determined to put a stop to it. Michael pressed on into the night, guiding the cart beside Maria, yet his thoughts had wandered elsewhere. Each interaction, each detail now held a profound significance. He had moved beyond mere observation. He was witnessing the true essence of his employees' lives in a manner that reports and meetings had never revealed to him. As they tidied up yet another room, Maria's pace diminished just a touch. She rolled her shoulders, a wince escaping her lips. Without hesitation, Michael inquired, "How many rooms do you clean in a night?" "It varies," she remarked, deftly folding a sheet with skillful precision. "On a fine evening, 12. A rough evening, perhaps 15 or more. And naturally, no overtime." Michael tightened his jaw. As they progressed, he began to observe the other workers more intently. A young man named Louis diligently scrubbed the bathroom floor, beads of sweat trickling down his forehead. A woman named Denise, advanced in years, moved with a certain stiffness, her knees evidently causing her discomfort as she leaned down to gather towels. Not a single one voiced any grievances. They had grown accustomed to this. At approximately 3 in the morning, Maria guided him to the laundry room. The room felt confined, the atmosphere heavy with warmth radiating from the industrial dryers. A solitary fan buzzed feebly in the corner, its impact almost negligible. "This is where we handle all the details," Maria remarked, flinging a stack of sheets into a bin. "Due to our limited staff, we occasionally find ourselves juggling laundry duties alongside room cleaning." Michael brushed the perspiration from his forehead. "What is the frequency of being short-staffed?" Maria cast him a glance. "When are we not?" Just as he was about to reply, a voice pierced the silence of the room. "Hello, Maria. What's causing the delay?" Michael glanced over to find Scott, the night manager, leaning against the doorway with his arms crossed. In his late 40s, he wore a constant scowl that seemed etched into his features. Maria adjusted her posture. "We're doing everything we can," Scott scoffed. "It's not quick enough. You understand the routine. If you don't complete your tasks, you'll still have to clock out regardless." Michael's hands clenched tightly into fists. Maria maintained a calm demeanor. "We will complete this task." Scott squinted at her, then shifted his gaze to Michael. "So we have a newcomer, do we? Make sure you keep up with her pace." Michael compelled himself to nod, suppressing the desire to voice anything further. Scott hesitated briefly, then whispered something to himself before turning away and leaving. Maria let out a breath. Simply overlook him. It's the simpler approach. Michael remained quiet, his thoughts swirling rapidly. As the shift drew to a close, every part of his body throbbed with fatigue. As Maria collected her belongings, he noticed her hand pressed against her forehead. "Do you still have that headache?" he inquired. She gave a slight nod. "Everything is okay. I'll rest once I return home." Michael paused, uncertainty flickering in his mind. "Is there health insurance provided by the company?" She emitted a brief chuckle. "I certainly did. However, when Scott reduced my hours to part-time, I lost my benefits. I had to opt for a more affordable plan that offers minimal coverage." Michael sensed a chill take root in his chest. Maria presented a weary smile. "You made it through your first night. Perhaps we'll catch up with you tomorrow." He observed her departure, her shoulders drooping under the weight of fatigue. Michael lingered for a moment, absorbing everything around him. The deserted corridors, the faint scent of disinfectants, the soft murmur of a hotel sustained by the efforts of individuals like Maria. He had witnessed more than enough. The moment had arrived to take action. Michael made his way to the hotel later that afternoon, this time embracing his true self. Neatly groomed, attired in a finely tailored suit and bearing the burden of all he had absorbed the previous night. As he strolled through the lobby, the mere aura he exuded captivated the staff's gaze. The front desk clerk, who had scarcely given him any notice the previous night, abruptly stood up straight. The young man stammered, "Mr. Carter, your arrival was quite a surprise to us." Michael continued to walk, unmistakably. He strode confidently toward the back offices, swinging the door open without a moment's hesitation. Scott sat at a disorganized desk, coffee in hand, casually scrolling through his phone. As he glanced upward and caught sight of Michael, he almost lost his grip on his drink. "Greetings." Michael did not afford him an opportunity. He closed the door with a quiet determination, his voice steady yet resolute. "Let's discuss the way you manage my hotel," Scott said, his throat tightening as he straightened his posture. "Certainly, sir." "Carter, had I been aware of your arrival, I would have," Michael interrupted him. "Isn't that the issue at hand? It seems you only put in the effort when you believe someone is observing." Scott's expression turned ashen. "I'm not quite sure I understand your point." Michael positioned himself opposite, fixing him with an intense stare. "I dedicated last night to the night shift, operating incognito. I witnessed it all." Scott parted his lips, only to seal them once more. "I observed you reduce hours without any prior warning. I observed you making employees clock out before they completed their tasks. I heard Maria, one of the most dedicated employees here, share that she lost her healthcare benefits because you intentionally kept her under full-time hours." Michael inclined his body, eager and attentive. "Clarify your position." Scott cleared his throat. "Sir, I was merely adhering to the established corporate protocols." With labor costs tightening and targets looming, Michael's hand came down hard on the desk, causing Scott to startle. "I established those corporate guidelines, and nowhere in them does it say to take advantage of employees to enhance your metrics," Scott exclaimed. "I aimed to maintain the hotel's profitability." Michael's voice was frigid. "By exhausting your team, by penalizing those who sustain this operation." Scott found himself without a response. Michael rose to his feet. "Your time here is officially over, effective immediately. Gather your belongings." Scott's eyes grew wide. "Sir, I respectfully bring to your attention that my tenure with the company spans several years, during which I have observed a prevailing atmosphere of fear and mistreatment. I will not stand for it." Michael pivoted in the direction of the door. "You will be escorted out by security." Scott continued to voice his objections as Michael made his way into the hallway. A crowd of employees had assembled, murmurs circulating among them as the gravity of the situation began to sink in. Michael acted without a moment's pause. He entered the break room, where Maria and a few other housekeepers were gathered, fatigue clearly visible on their faces. Maria gazed upward, a look of bewilderment on her face. "Mr. Carter," Michael locked eyes with her. "Scott has departed." A wave of disbelief swept across the room. Maria's eyelids fluttered. "Excuse me? Last night I collaborated with you, Maria. I witnessed it all. I will not permit this to go on," Michael declared, his tone unwavering. "No more unexpected reductions in hours, no more mandatory clockouts, and your benefits," he glanced at the others. "All employees eligible for full-time benefits will see them reinstated." Denise, the seasoned housekeeper, stifled a gasp of astonishment. Louis exhaled deeply, as if releasing a weight he had carried for ages. Maria's eyes sparkled with an emotion Michael struggled to identify. Was it relief, gratitude, or perhaps a hint of disbelief? "Thank you," she murmured. Michael had more to say. "By the week's end, a new management team will be established. I will make it my mission to guarantee that the next leader appreciates their team as they truly deserve." A handful of the workers shared knowing looks, as though anticipating the twist. It seemed almost unbelievable, yet Michael inclined his head in Maria's direction. "After 7 years, you have an unparalleled understanding of this hotel. If you're interested, I would love for you to step into a leadership role." Maria's jaw dropped in astonishment. "Is it me? You, Michael, have been confirmed. Your concern for this place and its people is evident. This hotel requires that type of leadership." Emotion flooded her eyes, yet she swiftly brushed them aside. In that moment, she gradually inclined her head in agreement. "I would be truly honored." A soft whisper of agreement wafted through the space. Michael let out a breath. Changes are on the horizon. This time it will transcend mere words. At last, The weariness that had settled in the room began to dissipate since his arrival. Hope had assumed its role. By the next week, the hotel had transformed into a space with a distinctly different vibe. The tension that had once enveloped the atmosphere like a dense mist began to dissipate. Employees advanced with a revitalized determination, free from the anxiety of potential reprimands or reductions in their hours. Maria entered her new leadership role with a subtle assurance, yet Michael could sense she was still finding her footing. For years, she had been in the shadows, regarded merely as another cog in the machine. Now, colleagues approached her for advice, and she bore the burden of duty with grace. Michael stayed on location, personally supervising the modifications. He engaged with the staff every day, paying attention as much as he guided. He had come to understand a harsh truth. Rules held no weight when the individuals upholding them lacked true concern for those they oversaw. One evening, as Maria wrapped up her review of the new scheduling system designed for fairness and transparency, Michael discovered her in the break room, gazing at the screen with a contemplative look. "How does it appear?" he inquired, drawing a chair to sit opposite her. She let out a breath. "Improved. Individuals are truly receiving the hours they require, with no more unexpected reductions." "Enough with the games." She shot him a look. It felt oddly pleasant. He nodded, observing her as she swept her fingers through her hair. "You're doing well, Maria." She paused before continuing. "No one in charge has ever truly cared about what goes on here. It's always been focused on the figures." She gazed at him, her face a mask of mystery. "Yet you descended and witnessed it firsthand. That transformed everything." Michael leaned in, his elbows propped on the table. "I had to. I received 2 reliable reports and managers who provided me with the truth. Yet figures fail to capture fatigue. They overlook the anguish etched on individuals' faces and the determination they muster, even when it's unnecessary." Maria observed him intently for an extended period. "Will you be implementing this at the other hotels as well?" With his lips forming a tight line, he found himself consumed by that thought endlessly. Indeed, he finally acknowledged, and it wasn't just me either. All regional managers must engage directly with their teams, eliminating the practice of remote oversight. Maria chuckled softly. "That's sure to stir the pot." "Excellent," Michael stated with conviction. "If they fear collaborating with their team, then they shouldn't be in a position of leadership." She nodded, a subtle smile playing at the corners of her mouth. A sudden knock at the door broke the silence. Louis peeked inside. "Maria, we've received a complaint from a guest regarding the malfunctioning AC in room 214. I've already looked into it, but I believe it's something that maintenance should take care of." Maria rose at once. "I will handle it." Michael observed her departure, effortlessly embracing her new position, acknowledged, appreciated, and at last granted the power she had always merited. As he surveyed the break room, he observed something understated yet meaningful. A transformation had taken place in the atmosphere. The discussions felt more carefree. Workers were not hurrying to depart as soon as their break concluded. For the first time, the sound of laughter echoed through the halls. This went beyond merely amending policies or swapping out ineffective managers. The focus was on reclaiming honor. Michael had once thought that success was defined by profits and growth. At that moment, he realized that genuine achievement was founded on the welfare of those who contributed to that achievement. This marked merely the onset of what was to come. Michael arrived at the hotel a month later, this time without any prior notice. He had developed a routine of these unexpected visits to his properties, making certain that the changes he introduced were not merely short-term solutions, but enduring enhancements. Upon entering the lobby, he instantly sensed the change. The front desk clerk welcomed him with a warm smile, shedding the earlier nervousness for a display of authentic assurance. The ambience was more vibrant, not merely in illumination, but in spirit. Employees advanced with determination, yet devoid of the previous strain that had once flickered in their gazes. He noticed Maria by the check-in counter, engaged in conversation with a guest. She held herself with a newfound confidence, her posture upright, her voice calm and self-assured. He held back until she completed her task before making his move. "Michael," she said, her surprise mingling with a smile. "I didn't expect to see you today." "That's the essence," he remarked with a smile. "How have you been?" She let out a breath, surveying her surroundings as though she were absorbing the advancements firsthand. "Improved, significantly improved. The new management team truly pays attention, schedules are consistent, and the morale is high." She tilted her head ever so slightly, a hint of disbelief flickering in her eyes. "People genuinely desire to be here now," Michael nodded with satisfaction. "So, how are you finding the adjustment?" Maria paused, contemplating her response. "It stands apart. For years, I focused on staying under the radar, enduring each shift as it came. Now individuals seek my insights. Carries a heavy weight, yet." She locked eyes with him. "It resonates perfectly." Just as Michael was about to reply, a young housekeeper made her way over. "Maria, there's a small plumbing problem in 318. I've already reached out to maintenance, but I thought I'd let you know." "Thank you, Louis," Maria replied with a nod. "I will follow up after the upcoming round of room inspections." Michael observed the interaction, recognizing how effortlessly Maria had embraced her position of authority. She wasn't merely overseeing. She was held in high regard and had earned trust. "Have you encountered any resistance?" he inquired after Louis had departed. "Just a bit," Maria confessed. Initially, there was a sense of doubt among certain individuals. They believed the alterations were temporary, that everything would revert to its former state. However, when they realized that we weren't merely discussing ideas, but were genuinely taking action, she offered a slight shrug. As they began to embrace the notion, Michael crossed his arms. "That's how genuine transformation occurs. Not in an instant but through steadfast dedication." Maria nodded. "By the way, I heard you've been visiting the other hotels," Michael chuckled. "News spreads quickly." "You forget that housekeepers hear everything," she remarked with a sly grin. He rested against the check and counter. "It has truly been enlightening. Some locations were in worse condition than I had anticipated, yet we are steadily advancing. I've replaced 5 managers already and restructured leadership training across the board." Maria's expression turned serious. "It requires considerable effort." Indeed, Michael concurred. "However, it is essential." She observed him intently for a brief moment. "You've changed as well, you realize, since that evening." Michael inclined his head. "In what way?" "Now you truly see us," she stated plainly. "Not merely as workers, but as individuals." Her words took root in his soul. He had always been devoted to his company, yet she was correct in her assessment. His viewpoint had remained remote. Figures on a spreadsheet instead of the stories, challenges, and experiences of individuals. A visitor made their way to the desk, prompting Maria to pivot and offer her help. Michael moved to the side, observing her navigate the interaction effortlessly. As he stood there, he sensed a transformation within himself. Not merely the satisfaction of progress, but a profound sense of duty that extended far beyond the task of repairing a single hotel. This encompassed more than just a single place or even one organization. It was about establishing a new benchmark, one where leadership transcended mere decision-making from above, focusing instead on grasping the realities at the ground level where genuine efforts took place. He was only beginning his journey.